Okay, so today we will share the real case study of objectives and key results implementation for an Estonian tech company. And the company is in gaming industry and has more than 100 employees, mainly located in Estonia. And we will go through with you through the implementation process. And we are two speakers. Yes, so my name is Dmytro and I'm a partner in Agile Drive company. It's a small consulting company in Ukraine, and we just started entity also in Copenhagen in Denmark. And we are helping companies with goal setting like OKRs implementation, but also with Agile transformation strategy and different training programs around these topics. Yeah, and I am super thrilled to introduce my colleague, Victor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victor. I'm CEO at Oboard. We are providing OKR software for small, big, and medium enterprise companies. And we'll be happy to share our collaboration case study between Agile Drive, Oboard, and our Estonian client.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. So what is interesting in this story is actually that we will go through not only the framework part, theoretical part, but also actually a practical part, how the powerful Oboard Jira plugin has been used. So we will cover both sides. And this is what our partnership makes it exclusive between Agile Drive and Oboard, and we are working together helping clients with OKR implementation. So we will focus on three topics which we think are really important in this case study. So first is alignment and focus. Second, we will talk about ground rules, and then we will also look at how we made a workshop for 100 plus employees where everybody set their OKRs in 1.5 days. And then we will have time for Q&As. So let's look at alignment and focus. So the CEO of the company approached us with challenges, yes, and these challenges were that they didn't really have a structured process for goal setting in the company. They felt that it's more like output-based rather than outcome-based result evaluation. They didn't really feel the alignment between teams and chapters and all the organizational units they had, and also a general lack of encouragement for taking responsibility on working on these outcomes. So this was the challenges that they came to us, and we started to discuss how we can help them. And then we thought that, okay, if these are the challenges that you have, then let's look at OKRs. And I will just briefly mention it. So we are on the same page. We will not have a training workshop today. So OKRs is an acronym that stands O for objectives and KR for key results. And then, of course, there are initiatives. So objectives is qualitative direction, goals that inspire, and it's what we want to achieve. But then how do we know that we're actually moving into this direction? What are the indicators? And these are key results. Yeah, these are indicators that are quantitative, they're specific and measurable, and they indicate whether we actually moving in towards objective or not. And then drive initiatives, the means that we will use in order to actually drive the key results and reach our objective. So very simple, and this is why it's actually one of the reasons why it's so popular, because it's very simple. But one thing is OKRs, another thing is actually building the culture around the OKRs. So this is just an example, so you have an understanding. For example, the objective company has is increase the satisfaction rate of the company's clients. Yeah, it doesn't say how we will measure it. It just gives some directions that it's important to increase the satisfaction rate. And then there are key results. Our hypothesis that we think if we reach them, then we will reach our objective. Yeah, and then one of them, for example, reach NPS 9 from clients, yeah, and so on. And this is what you actually can measure and then calculate the grade of your objective, how close you are. So this is an example. And then, so when we looked at, yeah, so this was just to show you what are the OKRs, yes, so we are on the same page. And now I will tell you kind of the most important parts of the alignment and focus that we take during the implementation process in order to make sure that there is a smooth implementation of the OKRs in the company. So first, what is important is start with leadership. So when we had the first meeting with the CEO and CTO of the company, then it was already a great sign to us, because then we see that leadership has buy-in into resolving the challenges that they have showed to us. And then when we ask them what you want, what are the challenges, etc., it's also helped us to understand why OKRs, yes. And this is really important, because sometimes we see top leaders, they just would like to have OKRs because Google does it, or because they have read nice book and they would like to be on the stream with others. Yeah, and this is then a bad way of starting implementation, because probably it will be failed and then they will not be pleased with your service, etc. So we are always checking with leadership their support, and then why OKRs. And if you look back to the challenges that I showed, these are actually the challenges that OKRs can help with. Then after that, we should start with company's mission and strategy. Because when we talk about alignment, there are two aspects of the alignment. So the first aspect of the alignment is what we always quite often think about, is alignment of the team. So all teams kind of aligned and moving towards the same direction. Great. But another important aspect of the alignment is towards what direction this alignment teams moving. Yeah, and this is where we should start from the top of the company. What is your mission of the company? What is your strategy? Where you would like to align all these teams? Yeah. So if we look at Henrik Knieberg's famous picture about alignment and autonomy, then this boss, he says, we need to cross the river. Yeah, so you can say this is kind of the main strategy of this simplified example. And then towards this, you can align your teams. Therefore, it is very important to start with mission and strategy, and this is what we always start with. Some companies already have it greatly refined. Some companies doesn't, and in this case, we refined the mission. So we tune it into the beta state, and also we looked at the strategy and made it as the OKR. So we made strategy as company-wide goals, OKRs. And this is the second point. So define strategy goals as OKRs. So what we did in this case, when we talk about strategy, we actually came up with a vision also, because we have defined it 5 years North Star OKR. So one OKR, so one objective, and then several key results that simply describe vision to everybody in the company. It's so easy to grasp because you understand the direction and you also understand how it will be measured. And then we looked at the strategic directions that company had. They had around 8 different strategic directions. And based on it, we have created for 2 years horizon, we have created 5 OKRs again. And this is what makes it more simple for everybody in the company. So instead of having a big slide deck, as we quite often might have, our strategy is 100 slides somewhere, and then on the 5th slide, you're already tired. Instead, you just have, so it's a blurred page of strategic OKRs for 2 years horizon. You just have one page which tells you the directions and how you will measure whether you're reaching it or not. And this brings alignment already and focus, because then it's easy to grasp to everybody. You can keep it in your memory instead of having hundreds of slides in your PowerPoint. And the last point, alignment, about alignment and focus, is that we focused on teams alignment. So we conducted trainings for key employees, and this is just a screenshot of Miro boards that we had. So we had online trainings for key employees of the company, and yeah, and so we aligned them on what is the OKR, so they speak the same language. Yes, and quarterly OKRs is, as I will show later, it's also during the quarter. Then every quarter we make sure the teams aligned between themselves and they aligned towards the strategy goals. So this is kind of the three important points when we talk about alignment and focus. And now I will give word to Victor, and he will show it how it can be done in the Oboard. So I will stop share, Victor, and you share.
Yeah. Oh, I can follow your slides if you go to the next one with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thanks. I would like to start my part with explanation why the companies need OKR software and why we're doing our software. The main purpose of OKR software is to increase adoption of methodology in the company which would like to use them to reach the strategic goals. And our main idea of the product is so how we achieving this adoption? We are trying to connect the strategy and execution in one place in Jira. Here on the slide, you can see that OKR board is serving the part with the strategy. So you can create objective and key result in our system. And our system is a plugin, is extension for Jira ecosystem, and you can link easily your daily activities like initiatives, epic stories to key results. In this case, you can achieve alignment between your strategic goals and your daily work, and also you can achieve better reporting. You always can feel the need to report something to another department or to C-level, and it is always quite tricky because you need to consolidate a lot of different pieces of information from different projects, from different systems. In our case, we are trying to connect everything in one place in Jira in our application and make it more easier to report, to align between different teams. On the next slide, you can see that this is the example which, by the way, Estonian company is using, that you can create an objective on yearly cycle, and then you can break down this yearly objective into the quarter objective, which is also breaking down into the key results, which is describing how we will measure this Q1 objective. And on the next slide, you can see that how easily you can link epics to key results, which is describing the scope of work you would like to do to achieve your key result. So this structure is actually the representing how our application works, and the how company Breakwater, which using our application, can connect their weekly sprints and daily work together with strategic key results, but with the quarter key results, which contribute into 2 years objective in their case. And on the next slide,
So Victor, if we stay here and make the analogy with the slides that I showed, objective, key results, and initiatives, you remember all that. This is how kind of OKRs. So in Oboard we have objectives and key results, and your initiatives are in Jira, yes, and in Oboard you can easily connect them. Yeah.
Right.
Good.
Right. So on the next slide, I'm showing you an example what kind of hierarchy you also can build in our system. It is quite flexible. On this example, we have yearly objective with a yearly key result, and then we would like to break down this yearly key result into the quarter objective, which is also described with a quarter key result and another quarter team objective. And on the next slide, it is another implementation of OKR hierarchy with a when you're trying to break down the yearly goals into the quarter goals and break down company objective into the team objective. So it is how you can do in another way that you have yearly objective with a yearly key result, and then you can describe this yearly key result with 4 quarter key results. Yeah, and for easier, on the next slide, you can see that we also have the next one, please. We also have a mind map view for OKR hierarchical structure that can easier to navigate through objective and key results in our application.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Victor. Yeah, so what Victor showed, it makes so simple then when we help to kind of introduce the concept and how to align, and then actually you can do it in a tool after that. So the next thing I would like to talk about is the ground rules. So if you would like to do OKR implementation in your company, it is important to agree on the frame which will be around the OKR culture. And and there are different aspects of these rules. I would like to talk about 5. So the first one, I would like to talk about horizon. So what you need to agree on what horizon your OKRs will be. So in the Breakwater case, Breakwater is the name of the company. So we decided on company 2 years OKR. Yeah, so this is during leadership workshop. We didn't know actually, because you never know until you try and you start to discuss. So first, we usually think about 1 year, but then during discussion, we realized, okay, it would make sense to make for 2 years. So we created on company level, we created 2 years OKRs. And then you need to discuss, okay, but it's too long. Kind of, you need to pivot while the market condition changes, etc. And then on lower level, yes, which in the case of this company was a chapter level, I will talk about it later, we decided, okay, then each quarter we will also define OKRs. So this is the first thing that you need to do, is kind of what is the horizon of OKRs we are talking. So agree on this as a ground truth. The second thing is OKR levels. So one of the ways so when we talk about OKR levels, it's like in this example, you have a company long-term goals, then you have company quota, then you have, let's say, department quota, then you have team quota. And this is an anti-pattern. So you should try to have as less number of levels as possible. Otherwise, you just lose at the first, when you are in this team level, you are already losing, okay, how I align to the company 2 years goals, because there might be some miscommunication going on. And second, this became very process heavy. because then you need to define for each level, the OKRs have different ceremonies, etc. So for the Breakwater company, we just went with these 2 levels. So we have company long-term goals for 2 years, and then we have a chapter on a quarter. That's it. And I will explain later what is chapter, but then each chapter in the company can really relate towards the strategic goals. Yes, and it's less process heavy. You don't need to define it on each level. Yeah. The third thing is, what is a team for OKR? So this is a picture of so-called Spotify model. Even there is no Spotify model, just was article by Henrik Niebuhr and Anders Siverson. So in your company, you might have different structures. You might have departments, teams, guilds, chapters, agile release trains, whatever. So in the case of Breakwater company, they have cross-functional teams. On this picture, it's like a squad. And then they also have chapters, which are cross teams, virtual structures throughout some competence, backend chapter, front-end chapter, DevOps chapter, etc. So you need to decide when you're going to OKR implementation, you need to decide what is a team for OKR of all of the, and we decided chapter. The reason for this, there were 2 reasons. One, because the company 2 years goals, OKRs, they were more of cross teams nature. So you need actually teams gather it and then working on this objective in order to move them forward. So this was one reason. And the second, there was also from top management teams, there was a wish to actually have a better connection inside each chapter. So teams actually have more things in common to work on. So that is why we decided, okay, in our case, the chapter will be a team for OKR. Yeah? Then the fourth part is, it's important to understand whether you are planning to links, bonuses, scoring, do performance management related to OKRs. Because one of the things about OKRs is that you would like teams to stretch for amazing, so making an extra step. And this is what, for example, Google does. For example, in Google, they say if you achieve more than 70% of key results, yeah, or what you have planned, actually you delivered, you did great, because teams trying to be more ambitious. And if you link strictly your bonuses to key result blindly and saying if you haven't achieved key result, then no bonus, then of course teams will be conservative and they will not stretch for amazing. That is why it's important to agree. And for example, in Breakwater case, so leadership team understand that how important it is and how impactful it might be for employees. So they decided not to link it for OKRs. Maybe later, first they will see how it works. Yes, so it was a wise decision. And then they might go to some grade, again, saying that if it's more than 80% or 70%, then you receive your bonus, if it, etc. Yeah, so this is the first thing you need to think about. And the fifth is you need to think about roles. And in terms of OKRs, there are at least 3 roles. And this is what we talk in Breakwater. So one is the most important, is the OKRs champions. So these are the internal employees that will understand the OKR concept, how to keep the culture, and how to support teams without external consultants. Yes, so we helped to implement it, and then we go out. Yes, so we focused actually who are OKR champions, and we train them with key people, and also there is a Agile coach chapter, which are like an OKR champion. So this is one of the roles. The second one is kind of who is internal project manager of implementation of the OKRs. Yes, because you need to make sure that, okay, to book workshop for 100 people, to make sure that everybody has check-ins, that there are Q&As if needed, etc., etc. So this is the second role. And then the third one is who will kind of supervise the tools that you're using, yes, for OKRs. It might be Google spreadsheet, it might be something else. In the case of Breakwater, it was Oboard Jira plugin, yes. So one of the internal employees, he's like an administrator and knows how to make sure to configure the Oboard in the right way. Yeah, so this is a ground rules that you need to think of when you start OKR implementation.
Mm-hmm. Super. So covering part of software to support all this approach that was described by Dima, we have a lot of different features. So I would like to start with explaining workspaces. The workspaces is something similar to Jira project, and for example, in case with Breakwaters, they divide in people by chapters, yeah. And for example, you would like to keep one objective separate from another objectives. One chapter would like to manage their OKRs in one place, in one workspace, another in another workspace. So it's possible, and then you can create the company-wide workspace where you can keep your public company 2-year goals and the quarter company objectives as well, but keep chapter objectives assigned on specific chapters in a different workspace. On the next slide, you can see that we support different horizontal planning. For example, if you are planning on 2 or 1 year, you can create the 1-year cycle, and also you can create the quarter cycle, even month or week, depend on the case you would like to cover. Yeah, on the next slide, you can see how it looks like inside the objectives form, that we have an objective described by the title and description. And also we have some nested key results, which is describing how we will measure this objective. But on the left side, you can see that this objective can be assigned on different cycle. For example, if it was not achieved in the Q2, we can easily move it in the next cycle to continue working on it. On this slide, I'm showing you that we support also additional attribute called OKR level. On the right side, this is example of Breakwaters. The companies have quite simple org structure. They have a company and the chapters, so they can label the OKRs by these 2 type of levels. In a more classic way, it can be company, department, group level, etc. You can customize them. And let's talk about reporting, and quite important thing in OKRs, it's called teams and the group responsibility. As I told, and Dmitry described that the Breakwaters they are not using personal objectives. They're using only objectives on the company level and the chapter level. And in this case, we need to create the chapters in our system and distribute team members between these chapters. When you will do this, and you can start assigning OKRs on specific business team, and after you can achieve the reporting, because when you have association between the person and the chapter, you can build report based on the chapter or by the person. On this report, you can see the team and personal performance So we can see that in the management team, we have some people inside, and we have visualization how objectives distributed by different confidence level statuses, on track, behind at risk, and the average grade, overall grade for the whole team, or personal grade for objectives, because all objectives are always associated with one owner, not only with the team. Yeah. And on the next slide, you can see the homepage. The homepage is an instrument to focus team lead or to team member on the objectives he is open or he should contribute to these objectives. So on this screen, you can see your current cycle and your personal, by default, it will be your personal progress with your list of objective and key results. But also you can change the view to the team view, and you can see the overall team performance and the list of objective and key results belong to this team. So it makes it easier to report the progress of your team to higher level, to your C-level team. So what was achieved by your team during this 2 weeks check-in, for example. Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. And the third part is a workshop for all employees. So few interesting aspects on how we did it. So we had, I don't know, we had probably 70 or 80 people at the same time in the office, and then we had around 30 people online, and we had 2 days for workshop to let each chapter actually to define the OKRs. But we also had, it was the first time we had some training on the OKRs. So going further, I see that it should be 1 day enough, and also chapters will be better, teams will be better in knowing what is OKRs and how to define them. So one of the important aspect during workshop was alignment with the company OKR. So we stopped team again sharing what is the company long-term goals. And here on the picture, you can see that the yellow sticky, this is the objective on a company level, and this is the key results of this objective. And then other stickers are from chapters. So if they are OKR contributing to the company one, then they indicating it here. And then we have it for each of the objective. So, and in this case, we kind of see, okay, how teams are actually aligned with the company OKRs, and if there are any OKRs that are not aligned to company long-term goals. And there were but few, yes, and it's okay also that some of the teams see that there are some changes required to be done in the chapters that are not really aligned to the company long-term goals, but they are really important. Yeah, but we had only few of such. The second thing is actually about enabling the engagement of the chapters. So they decide how they can contribute into company long-term goals. So we split 10 chapters. So you can see here, it's like 10 chapters as a columns. And this is kind of different things they need to do and when they work inside the chapter. So we spread them physically in the office, and each chapter worked on their OKRs, and then we gathered it at some points to check where we are, had draft review of OKRs, giving feedback, then they went back into the rooms. Yeah, so even we were like 100 people, still each chapter worked on their own in order to define their OKRs and thinking how they can contribute to company goals. But what is important is that they also have alignment between them. So they're not making duplication, yeah, or some reverse thing. So one of the points was talk through the dependency and clarify them between different chapters. And this is what takes might take quite a lot of time. And then you also see what are the actually chapters are really demanding for others, it's really good exercise. For example, DevOps chapter, almost everybody wanted something from DevOps, yes, but they also planned their work. And now they see, okay, in order for other 9 chapters to do the work, we need to support them, yes. So this also gives an indication to leadership, whether they need kind of to have more DevOps or really to narrow down their focus or remove some other activities that require their assistance. Yeah, so focus on alignment between chapters. And then leadership review. So remember, we gave this autonomy to chapters, so they decide, so they just look at company long-term goals and they decide how they can support it. Yes, but it's great that leadership gave this autonomy for them, but at the same time, they kind of would like to review and give feedback. Yeah, so during the workshop, we also had a leadership review twice, yes, where they look at what chapters OKRs are, etc. And then they gave feedback, and yeah, some of the OKRs maybe we were stopped, some will kind of change it, etc. And check-ins. What is important is that on this workshop, kind of we decided how you check-in is how chapter will evaluate the progress. It should not be once in a quarter they evaluate the progress, but regularly. Ideally, no less frequent than once in 2 weeks. So once in a week, once in 2 weeks. And the anti-pattern is actually to create a new meeting for check-ins. Oh, now in your calendar you have OKR check-ins. This is anti-pattern, and it says that, okay, this is some artificial OKR came, and now we need some separate meetings for this. No, the idea of OKRs is that they describe the important changes that you're working on, and it means that you already need to include the evaluation of the progress on these important changes in your current meetings. Yes, whether it is sprint reviews, whether it's just some chapter huddles weekly, whether it is prioritization meetings, yes. And this will be an indication that OKR culture is working properly, that OKRs actually embedded into your business processes. So yeah, so we ask teams, chapters, yes, OKR teams, to think, okay, how they can make this evaluation, how they can embed it into the meetings that they already have. And this is what kind of all chapters came up. Okay, we will just use 15 minutes every week in our chapter meeting, or we will use this during this ceremony, etc. Yeah. So this was a workshop. As I said, we spent 1.5 day. We booked 2, but we spent 1.5, and I think half a day we spent on trainings and yeah, like check-in exercises. Yeah, and Victor?
Yeah, so this is actually a really good point regarding how OKR check-in should be done and embedded, recommended to be embedded into your existing meetings, not creating a new one. So I will add a couple of things here. So you do regular meetings probably together with your teams, but to how you will report the progress on the C-level. Yeah. For this purpose, you don't need any additional meetings, because in our system you can build the custom dashboard. For example, this dashboard can be describe company level OKRs or team level OKRs, and present the information. So what is the progress in the last 7 days for each objective? And also you see all key results inside. Inside each objective, you can see the progress, who is responsible for these objectives, the team responsible for these key results and objective. And it gives you a crystal clear view on how your strategy moving forward. In case it's not moving forward, it's a time to discuss what's going on. Also, this report can be done for the specific team as well. It's not only for the company level objectives, it is a custom report. And if you would like to put on your TV screen in the office your team's mission or company mission with this company or team objectives, you can do it with this report because it is quite simple and indicate the progress of all objectives. And on the next slides, also continue topic with check-ins. In case you have so good team and you don't need to create any additional meetings, you can report the progress, your focus for the next week, and probably your blockers in the comments. So it is also the way to report your progress. So in the comments, you can leave the summary what was done regarding this objective. You can tag some people who should be notified about these updates or blockers. So depend on your daily rituals, you can report the progress of your objectives through the comments. You can create the custom report, which will indicate the progress in a good way, or use existing meetings to tell about your progress to the team on them.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Yeah, a nice support for checking in Oboard. So to summarize, so what are kind of the main tips if you would like to make an implementation in your company? So start with why. Yes. So first, why OKRs? And what are the challenges you would like to overcome, and is it really something that OKRs can help with? And then why with kind of what you will align towards. Yes. So mission and strategy. If you do not have clear mission and do not have clear strategy, then it's useless to align your teams because you do not know towards what you align. Involve leadership. So you start with company OKRs, you do not start with teams. Yes, otherwise you do not know towards align. And if you involve leadership, then they support through the journey because for any change, and OKRs might be a big change, will be a resistance. Yeah, so leadership should really support and understand why they are doing this, why investing their time. Ground rules, so set the frame. This would be much easier. Yes, this is a horizon, this is the levels, this is the teams, this is our champions, this is how we link bonuses or do not link. Yeah, everybody understands it, but be ready to adjust them because then you can see, okay, this is not working. We need to introduce one more level or we need to make shorter horizon. Yes, but it's important to set the frame. And OKR champions, so teach to fish, do not give a fish. Yes, so find the people that then can support the journey, teach them how to do it, and this will enable for successful adoption of the OKRs. Yeah, I think that's it that we wanted to share, and now it's time for Q&A. Yeah, so
yeah, for questions, just unmute yourself who's in Zoom, and those who are watching on Facebook, just write a comment and I will forward the question if you have one. Also, you can write in Zoom chat so we can just read it on your behalf. While the questions are coming, actually, I had one question. While listening, you mentioned you should have OKR champions. And usually in Agile or the Spotify model, let's say, or in Scrum, we have product owners that tell priorities. And shouldn't they be already aligned and prioritize your backlog so that backlog is aligned to your OKRs? Why then you would need champions additionally to product owners?
Yeah, and this is a really good question because one of the traps that many companies does, they start to OKR everything. So backlog what you're doing in OKRs is different things. So usually OKRs is for the change that you would like to do. It doesn't mean that you put into OKRs the features or stories you would like to implement, but actually the change you would like to do. I don't know, you would like to, again, increase employee satisfaction or increase client satisfaction, or some technical stuff like, I don't know, responsiveness of the server up to 99999. Yes. And this is not something that really, so it's important not to have OKRs as a backlog. But then, of course, you're right that if we put this, then it will take some our time and capacity. And this is where sponsorship of leadership is needed, because then you need to align the priorities. So so if it's technical OKRs, then product owners should be ready to give teams time actually working on whether it's refactoring or, I don't know, making some microservice, etc. And this is the tricky part, because then you need to actually not only, product owner needs not only to think about the backlog, but also, okay, what are the OKRs, what are the big changes we are driving, yes, and possibly to tune their backlog towards it.
Thank you. And Maxim?
Yeah, so thanks guys for presentation. So one question from my side. Do you think OKRs are well scalable for huge enterprises, at least 1,000 plus people? And to make a question a bit more practical, I saw at least two really bad implementations. Probably like it will be connected to the slide you show where you say less levels. So yeah. Exactly. So because corporations are huge, it was like 5, 6, 7 levels. So business streams, departments, squads, teams. And it led to two big problems. First, total disconnect between the lowest levels and the highest levels. And those lowest levels, usually like team level or some squad level, it's usually totally absurdish, like deliver, 70% of this epic or whatever. And second, even more important problem, usually if we have those OKRs, we think, okay, how to achieve them. And what's happening, and I saw a few examples of that in different companies, usually we have a project and then we go to our list of OKRs, which is super long, and we're just trying to find the one which sounds as close as possible. So obviously, and I saw this problem in few places, and I have no idea how to fight it. So it's coming back to the main question: do you think it's even possible to implement? Does it make sense to implement for enterprises? I mean, more than 1,000 people.
Yeah. So I have experience of having OKRs in not in the entire company, but in the product division of a big company, and it was 600 people, and it worked okay. And how to make it possible? So in a big enterprises, of course, there are many levels, yes, of organization, and quite often it is hard to connect for teams into the company's overall mission, because the mission is quite abstract, yes, and even vision is quite abstract for them if they're working on this part of the product, yes, or service. So what in this case we suggest, and this what was in the companies that I'm saying, so 600 people in product division. So each department, they had own mission that is linked to the overall one. Kind of department, let's say 100 people, I don't know, working with accounting part of the software, yes, accounting, transactions, etc., financial transactions. Then they're making the mission for their department, yes, that is kind of supporting the overall mission. And then for teams, it's easier to connect their OKRs to the mission of the department. Yeah, so this is kind of to bridge the gap. Yes, otherwise it's either too abstract, or if you start to do like in this chapter, in this picture, yeah, you're right. You just losing what you align to. So then in this case, you can have more like autonomous, like teams linking to their department's mission, to your department goals. Yes, and then the department goals, they most likely they somehow support the company goals. Yeah. So this is one of the things. And another, what you said about the long list of OKRs, is another anti-pattern that any team should not have. So ideally they should have around 3 OKRs, but not have more than 5 OKRs. If you have more, then you start what I said, to OKR everything. And this is not right. OKRs is the significant change you would like to do. It's not your business as usual. It's not your backlog, etc. This is really a change you would like to drive. For example, like YouTube, they had OKR to had 1 billion hours watching per day. Yeah. So objective was something else, but this is the key result. Yes. And then each quarter they had like a roadmap, like this quarter is 300,000, etc., etc. This is a significant change. They had a hell of other things to do, but they know this is a significant change. And then, okay, how we can support, what we need to do in addition to what we have, our legacy, support, etc., contract obligations, what we need to do in order to support this biggest change. Then OKRs working. When you have 5, 10, 15 OKRs for each team, forget. Then it's process heavy. It's not bringing focus. Idea of focus of OKRs is that you're actually focusing on the most important things.
Okay, thanks a lot for response.
I would like to add something here. I would like to add that OKRs was born in a really big enterprise company called Intel and Google. And another point here, that as big a company, as big a challenge with alignment. So you need to find some instrument how to align so big company like Google, for example, with a 100,000 people. And this instrument was useful for them because they successfully implemented this methodology. For example, one of example of their objectives was for interesting for Chrome. When they started this project with the Chrome, they set objective for probably, as I remember, for 2 or 3 years. It was to build. It was something like. To build the most, the faster web application, which will help thousands of people to find something in the internet. Let's say I don't remember the right way to call, but it was basically the objective for specific, let's say, set of departments, because it was only one product. Like Google has a lot of products. But this product, the Chrome, it was like associated with not all the company, but it was a good focus for specific part of the company to deliver, to deliver this product on the market and achieve the success. They evaluated this objective with the number of monthly active users. As I remember, they would like to achieve something like 20 million active daily or monthly active users, and with that objective.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Victor.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Lucas here. Guys, I have a question. Did you face any resistance or pushback from employees during the implementation? And if so, how did you address that?
Yeah, of course. You feel it always during any change. This is our nature of human beings. And I remember a funny case. If you talk about Breakwater, so I'm Ukrainian, but I speak Ukrainian, but of course I understand Russian. I can speak Russian. And there were some guys I was in Tallinn giving the workshop with my colleague, and then the guys, they thought that so I spoke English, so they didn't know that I understand Russian. So I was near them, and then okay, another crap. Yeah. So and of course you know that some employees will show the resistance because of their previous experience. So maybe they already tried OKRs, it didn't work. You just need to accept it and just yeah, and then just do the best explaining why these OKRs, how they will help. And this is why I say that leadership is important, because if me as a consultant will come to the company and will start to preach it, but then I do not have support from leadership, then of course it will die just after the workshop. But if you have leadership that is standing and saying, this is why we commit to this process change, this is why we think it's important, then kind of employees, they feel kind of a better confidence in that this is important, because this is their CEO standing and saying, then this is CTO, and then this is another guy, and CPO, etc. That is why leadership is super important to be involved in any organizational changes, not only OKRs. And if you do not have leadership support, then probably, most likely, you will fail with the change. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Dangiras is raising the hand, I think.
Yes, hello, and thank you for the presentation. First of all, to get the naming right, so according to Spotify, squads are the cross-functional teams consisting of different chapters. Correct, right?
No, not consistent from different chapters. So the squad is like a Scrum team, which is a cross-functional. Yes, you have different competencies, yes. And chapter is inside the tribe. You have chapters around, let's say, QA chapter. So in chapter you have, if you have virtual team members from different squads. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know my answer, if my question will be valid here or not, but my assumption is that DevOps chapter, for instance, right, they cannot deliver stuff on their own, right? And for example, front end without back end without front end. So I wonder how they can be responsible for their own OKRs if they don't deliver stuff on their own. And my question is, what was the reasoning behind having OKR teams as chapters and not OKR teams as squads?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So I will start with the latter one. So there were two reasons for deciding on chapters and not on squads. So one of the reasons is that leadership team wanted to have a better collaboration inside each chapter. And this is what they thought, okay, we'll kind of glue them working towards the goals. So this is one thing. Another, the nature of the company goals was really, I should say it was more focused on like a technical platform goals. Yeah, so it was more a lot about scalability, for example, yes, etc. And then it's makes more sense that it's across teams. Like on back end, they think how to make it more scalable. On front end, they think how to make it scalable. But of course, they have dependencies. They need to work together. But it is easier than each team as a squad will think, okay, how we need to make, I don't know, our platform more scalable. Yeah, you need to really gather as a backends and sync together. So this was the reason. If the nature of the change would be more, I don't know, more like on, let's say, the nature of the company goals would be something like, we would like to have better predictability in each of the team. Yes, now, I don't know, velocity is doing like this. Then of course, it makes more sense to work on OKRs on teams, but then each team can focus on their kind of predictability part. Yes, because for the business, it's really important. Yeah, so this was the reason. And I don't remember how in Breakwater, the DevOps team, if it's inside different teams or it's a separate one, I don't remember. But you're right that whatever you choose, you still need to collaborate. Yes, even if you choose in squads, but you would like to work on the platform, you still need to collaborate between squads. Yeah, if you choose chapter, then of course you slice differently. Yes, then you slice like QAs, product owners, backend, front end, DevOps, service, etc., and this is what I told that during workshop, it was really important to have this alignment between chapters. Yeah, and you can see it's like green card. It means the chapter done it, and this was not done because it actually took time to talk to all chapters to clarify the dependencies, how we will do it together, etc. Yeah.
I have a related concern, kind of, because when you talk about chapters, they're just, well, DevOps or developers, QA, whatever. So isn't that conflicting with squad goals, like for their sprint, if they work in sprints, right? Versus, for instance, somebody's working on the thing, say, hey, we have to deliver this by the end of the sprint. And then developers say, no, I'm working on this OKR. This is like aligned to company goal, and like screw your sprint goal. I mean, that to me looks like a conflict where person is now having like a two managers kind of OKR champion and product owner, and then like everything goes like this is my imagination. I've heard it and it's like, oh my god, what a mess.
Good. I like that you asked it, because OKR champion does nothing with saying this is kind of OKR champion is here to answer the questions. Or here to facilitate the workshop instead of consulting.
Okay. Maybe
or
then
if
let's
someone would like
on
to,
I have OKR as a goal and squad goals.
Yeah. So I will continue. But first, I just wanted to clarify: OKR champion is not like a product owner of OKRs. No. It's just the guy who has the knowledge of OKRs and can say, oh, your key result is more output based. If you change it like this, then it will be more outcome based. We will have a workshop, guys. Prepare. I don't see you are doing check-ins, something like, do you need help? So this is what OKR champion. In terms of conflict. But this is how it is. Just in any company, if you would like to drive a big change, yes, this is a conflict between what you would like to do in your product or service and what you need to do as a company to pivot to another direction. And this is why we have sprint planning. Yeah. And what is beautiful is that the teams the team members itself decided that they need to do this. Yeah, and then on sprint planning, they can say, okay, product owner, nice sprint goal, super cool. You was on the workshop as well. You saw our OKRs. Leadership team said, yes, it's really important. We will be we would like to deliver. So we need 20% of our time, on working in the chapter on this unit test. Yeah, we need to improve unit test coverage in this area, or we need to split our platform into 4 Lego blocks, or something like that. And then the tension is coming, but it's a good tension, because it's you are making tension to introduce important changes that the overall company think is important. Yes, otherwise you will just bring your more features, and you will not drive a big change. So of course tension will be there, but glad that we have, if we work in Scrum, we have a sprint planning where we can discuss this. And it's nice that team members were part of these goals. No one told them. They cannot blame anyone. They were the ones who said, we would like to do this. And in a quarter, we will stand in front of everybody during workshop and present what we have done. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the answer. By the way, have you heard about any story where product owner came and says, what the hell is this thing? Where's my features? Like just maybe in your example of case study, yeah.
Not in this, but in other. But again, product owner sprint planning should already understand. So if team decided on sprint planning to work on a product owner sprint goal, then teams will work on it. They will not say that, oh, we didn't do it because we spent 50% of our time on our OKRs. then of course, then this is another completely topic to discuss with the team. Why you didn't tell about on sprint planning? Yes, that you will spend such amount of your capacity. Yeah. So yeah.
Thanks for answer.
I would like to add something here. That about these ground rules. That it is always reality that when, for example, some company decided to run OKRs, they can set some strategy, the vision, the mission, then just break it down into the OKRs and start working on it. But always, all the companies, especially the old companies, they have a lot of legacy, and they should support some old products, old processes, and that's why it is absolutely not possible to spend 100% of your time only on OKRs. That's why it's in my example, it was a good practice to decide before you start the cycle that, for example, we should focus 50% of our time on OKRs and the rest of the time on operational stuff, which is not related to OKRs. It's also the good point to decide before you will go with OKRs, because without this understanding, you will always be stressed by this situation that the one person is asking you to do something, some operational stuff, and the C-level team would like to get shit done with the strategy, with a new strategy, and it is always challenge.